Hey guys, so before I start this video, I just want to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement and what's been going on in the US over the past couple of weeks. Also, I'm outside recording this audio, so that's why there's a bunch of birds in the background. But obviously, with the murder of George Floyd, there's been a lot of protests that have been sparked, rightfully so. And I'm going to be linking in my description links that lead to petitions to sign and organizations to donate to that will support the Black Lives Matter movement. And obviously I am white and I will never experience discrimination because of the color of my skin. However, I think that it's important that we all speak up about this, and this is not a time to remain silent. Black Lives Matter, that term, that phrase should not be considered controversial, yet it is. And I just hope you all are thinking about what you can do to further your support for this movement in the US and across the world. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. Please, if you can donate, please do. I know this is a difficult time because of the pandemic, so if you don't have the means, it's completely understandable, but signing petitions takes a really short amount of time and can be a very effective way to help support these movements. So yeah. Hey guys, it's me, Claire. So today I'm going to be going through all the books that I read in May. I read 6 books and my average rating was, I think, around 4.16. I keep a reading bullet journal, so that's why I know the average rating. Yeah, and I read some good books and I read some books that definitely didn't meet my expectations. But I'm just gonna formulate my thoughts a bit and tell you all whether I would recommend them. I don't know, stuff like that. Stuff that one usually does in a wrap up, so whatever. So yeah. So the first book I have is Annie on My Mind by Nancy Garden. I read this kind of on a whim. I don't think this is actually on my TBR. This follows our main character Liza, and she's a senior in high school, and she lives in New York, in the city, and she basically meets and falls in love with this other girl, Annie, and it's them falling in love, and it's a really quirky, really cute love story, and it's set in the 70s, so obviously this was it was set in a time that, you know, homosexuality and the LGBT youth were not widely accepted, and it deals a lot with homophobia. There's characters in this book that are, you know, when they find out, they're very patronizing, and then there's other people who are just disgusted, and it's just a really heartwarming book for the most part because it definitely deals with some really heavy topics, but it does so in a way that doesn't make you really upset. And it was just a really nice book with a good ending. It was just really nice, and this book had a lot of controversy surrounding it, obviously, when it came out, because this came out in the 80s, but I really loved it. It was so good. I gave it 5 stars. It's a new favorite. That's how much I loved it. I'm not I've said this a lot before, but I really usually don't like romance in books, and especially books that just completely focus around romance, but this book did such a good job of developing the characters in a way that I both really liked the the love interest to Liza and Annie, and also just I haven't read a book with really serious LGBTQ rep in a while, so I just loved it. I don't know, it's just a new favorite. I'm so happy I read this. I would really recommend this if you're looking for something kind of nice to read, and I loved it so much. So yeah. Alright, the next book I have is The Kreutzer Sonata by Leo Tolstoy. This is a book, it's kind of a novella, it's not that long, but it follows our kind of main character. He's telling his story. His name's Pastanishev, telling his story of growing up and then marriage, having children, and how he ultimately comes to murder his wife. It makes a lot of comments on marriage, children, happiness, sexuality, just like general stuff like that in Russian society at the time. This was written after Anna Karenina, which made sense once I found that out, because it definitely had a very different message and like a very different overarching focus than Anna Karenina did. And at the time when Tolstoy wrote this, it was kind of based off of his own unhappiness in his own marriage. Just his like opinions on things had changed a lot after Anna Karenina. And I guess like that made more sense to me because I had only like known him from his work in that book. And this was definitely a very different, like there was a very different theme and a very different overall like thing he was trying to get at. And there is a note at the end of this book that is very interesting. Basically like preaching abstinence and basically like going against the whole ideal of marriage. And it was an interesting thing to read and definitely an interesting perspective. I gave this 3.5 stars. I think that the story just really didn't come alive for me, and it definitely was like straddling a line between being like a philosophical debate and then like an actual kind of tale of sorts. And I just think that like it did so in a very weird way. I don't know how to put that like articulately, but I think it could have like done a better job in some departments. But I mean, obviously like, I don't really agree with like the message. That's not really like the point. It was interesting to see, and I think that Tolstoy developed Pasternachev in a way that it made sense why he murdered his wife. Not that like that's validated, but through his perspective, it like made sense why he did it. So yeah, I mean, this book didn't do like a ton for me, but I definitely did like it, and I liked what it was trying to get at and like what it was trying to say generally. I just like appreciated it for what it was. So yeah, and Tolstoy makes some really good points in here actually, like about women, women's place in society, and there definitely are some things that are kind of misogynistic, but also this was written in like the late 1800s, so of course it was. But generally like Tolstoy's written very well about women and like women's place in society, and generally I think Tolstoy writes very well about how women are viewed by men. This book made a lot of good points about how society has kind of made women, especially at this time, made them out to be like objects only for sexual pleasure for men. And I mean, there were definitely like other points that kind of latched onto that I didn't agree with, but yeah, I mean, this book was pretty good, and I think that it was interesting to read. So yeah, the Kreutzer Sonata. All right, so the next book is actually a short story. Very excited I read it. But I read The Diamond as Big as the Ritz by F. Scott Fitzgerald. This is following John T. Unger, I think that's his last name. And he is going to like a preparatory school in Massachusetts or somewhere in the Northeast, and he meets this friend, and they spend the summer together in this friend's really, really nice house in Montana. This is almost like magical realism, I would say. So basically this friend's house is set in like the Rockies in Montana. It's one of the only unexplored places in America, and the mountain they live on is just a gigantic diamond, and that's how they basically have gained all their wealth. Like, this family is stupid rich. And I never thought I could meet characters so vain. I was wrong. Oh my gosh, like, the people in this book are ridiculous, and like obviously Fitzgerald did that on purpose, because just some of the things they said in this. I remember one of the sisters who lived there was like, I can't believe there's people in the world that live with only 2 maids or 2 servants. I don't know, something like that. It's just like so many things like that were dropped in this book, and just the most ignorant things to say. I don't know, but that's kind of what this book is about. It's funny though. It's like really funny in the way that it does it. I laughed a lot while I was reading this, because it's just like you look at these people and you're like, they're so oblivious to everything, and that was really the point of this. Obviously the show's not writing this thinking that these characters are such like good people, because they're obviously not. But it was so weird. It was very strange, especially like regarding Fitzgerald's work, because he writes like very much romanticized versions of things in the 20s, and this was, I think, as idealized as you can get. But this was really, really well written. The prose in this were wonderful. I know Fitzgerald wrote a lot of his short stories. He didn't enjoy writing them. He wrote them to like sustain himself, like with like financially, so that he could actually like write his books. And what's funny about that is I don't think it shows that he wasn't enjoying writing these kind of things. And I haven't read any more short stories, so like maybe this one, maybe that's not true for all of his. But I mean, this one was really well done, and I gave it 4 stars. It was really interesting. It made a lot of really interesting, like, subtle comments on materialism and the fetishization of commodities in the 20s, and I think it just did a really good job of everything, and it's very easy to get through. I think it was like 40 pages. So if you're looking for a good Fitzgerald short story, I think this one does a good job. I mean, these characters are literally like worse than Daisy and Tom Buchanan. Like, you have to read this to get it. It's like, these characters are something else, but they're really interesting and they're kind of funny. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this. I really liked it. The next book is one that definitely surprised me, because I read Wuthering Heights, I think last month, and I wasn't a huge fan. And this obviously is by Charlotte Bronte, so it's like a different author, but they're related, so whatever. Yeah, but it is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I love this so much. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was so beautiful, so wonderfully done. It was a book that, like, it took me a little while to read. Like, I spent my time reading this, and I didn't mind that, because I kind of just wanted to live in this world forever. But if you don't know what this is about a young orphan named Jane Eyre, and she lives in a lot of different places, and she goes through a lot of different things, but she ends up at Thornfield Hall, and she falls in love with Mr. Rochester, and it's so well done. What's so interesting about this is our main character, she's so well developed. A lot of the times this was written in first person, but a lot of the times when like a book is written in first person, I feel like I'm kind of distracted from the actual like narrator, and I'm more focused on the other people, if that makes sense. And like, I don't really appreciate the narrator as much, but like, I loved her character so much. It was so well done. The writing in this, absolutely beautiful, so atmospheric. I just loved it. It was so well done. I just can't stress that enough. So interesting, because Jane, like, she goes from, I guess she experiences so many different walks of life, and it's just so well written. There's so many amazing discussions about women and death and religion and morality, and I can't speak enough on this book. It's so well written. It's just so well crafted. I just loved it so very much. And I would like 100% recommend this. I liked it a lot more than Wuthering Heights, and I really want to read more Charlotte Bronte. I really want to read The Professor. That seems really good. And yeah, I love this so much, and this is such a beautiful edition too. So yeah, the next book I have was a bit of a disappointment. I'm kind of sad I didn't like it as much, because everybody loves this book. But it is The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. So this is about a young girl, Liesel, living in Nazi Germany, and she basically starts like stealing books. This was very much a character study, which I actually really liked. I liked the character development of some of the characters. I think what really bothered me about this was it just wasn't very well written. The main character, Liesel, I really felt no attachment to her, and I thought she didn't really have a personality. She also, maybe this is kind of petty, she sold like 4 books within the span of several years, so I don't understand why she's called the book thief. No offense. What also bothered me is I actually liked the whole idea of Death being the narrator, but there were so many interjections, and it was primarily him, like Death, the narrator, foreshadowing every single like chapter he foreshadows, which really bothered me. I don't know, like I was interested in the book and I didn't need constant like ominous phrasing to be like spewed out just to try and keep me interested. I don't know, I feel like that was just like a lazy ploy in trying to keep the readers interested. Like I was interested in this book. I didn't need like a billion different things telling me something bad's gonna happen. That bothered me a lot. I was just kind of like, okay. Yeah, this book just didn't do a lot for me. I think there's like other better historical fictions and just general books that deal with World War II and Nazi Germany in particular. And I don't know. I think that if you're gonna write about Nazi Germany, which a lot of people do, you better do it well. I don't think it did it that well. I mean, I don't know. I always have high expectations for historical fiction set in World War II because World War II was a major historical event, obviously. So, I don't know. I gave it 3 stars because I was interested in it. Like, I was interested. I liked some of the characters. I liked Liesel's father, and I liked Max. Overall, I wasn't a huge fan, but I liked it enough, so I gave it 3 stars. Okay, the last book is a new favorite. Once again, I'm very excited that this became like a new favorite because it was so well done. I love this book so much. But it is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is like the quintessential dark academia book, and I wasn't entirely sure if I was gonna like it because there's a lot of mixed feelings about this book. And I think for good reason, because I can see why people don't necessarily love it. I tried to get my mom to read it and she DNF'd it, like, because it was like too strange for her, which is fine. But it definitely deals with a lot of peculiar topics. But this follows Richard Papin, who attends a really prestigious college in Vermont and ends up studying classics with a few other kids at this school. And they're all kind of, it's like a very cliquey group. They're all kind of mysterious and like he doesn't really know what's going on within the friend group because it's a little like there's something darker to it. And you find out, I don't want to spoil anything, but it's the synopsis on the back is kind of vague, which I think is good. I think it's good to keep your knowledge going into this very limited because it just makes this book all the better. And obviously I gave this 5 stars. I loved it so much. The writing was absolutely beautiful. It was so atmospheric. I loved all the characters, like even Bunny, even though he was kind of annoying. And I think my favorite character was definitely Henry. And yeah, I think this was so well done and I'm so happy I read it. It was just really interesting and kind of peculiar, but also it was just good. It was just really, really amazing. And I love the discussions of classics and everything that really this book talked about. So yeah. Okay, so those are all the books I read in May. I'm very happy because I read 2 new favorites, which is very exciting. And yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I will link my Bookstagram and my Goodreads down below. Because I wrote a very, very long review about Jane Eyre, and also like all those books I wrote a really long review about on my Instagram. So if you want to read that, feel free. But yeah, I hope you guys are all staying safe, and I will see you guys in the next video.